Welcome to the Spotlight series. Our guest today says he's not a trailer dealer, he's a problem solver. For 30 years, he's been the master craftsman that mission critical industries turn to for high end custom built solutions. He is the CEO of Towit, Bjarne, Bjarne Haug. You're listening to the Adapt AI podcast Spotlight series, where we feature the changemakers and disruptors shaping the future of business and where we learn how industry leaders stay ahead of the game. If you want to stay ahead too, go ahead and click subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Haley. Today, we're putting our spotlight on another key expert in the logistics and transportation space. Bjarne, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Haley. I'm looking forward to our little chat here.
Well, thank you for your time and joining us today. So, just for starters, you've had an impressive entrepreneurial journey. Can you just share a little bit about your background and what led you to start your first business and then to what it is now?
Yes, absolutely. For everybody, obviously, that don't know me, I'm just shy a little bit over 50 years old, and I would say I started my first little business around 24 years old. And back then, I was living in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I've been around cell phone games. I've been around when the first smartphone came out, you can buy the small animated GIFs and stuff. But I was into animation at that point. That was kind of my profession, and I
Mm,
made thousands of these small animation. And we sold quite a bit of them, and then eventually video came around for the phones, and basically overnight that whole market just tanked. I never seen anything stop so quickly, abruptly. So that also teaches you something. You got to stay ahead of the game and see, try to figure out where things are heading. And I've done a lot of visual video for festivals and big concerts and everything. And despite of all that work, that led me to eventually in 2008 when I said, all right, enough of Denmark. I want to live someplace warm. So me and my wife moved to the US, to New Orleans, actually, for that matter, where we started my former company, which was named iMoto. And there was a marketplace for photographers that could figure out how to photograph houses, do video, floor plans, you name it. And obviously the real estate agents on the other side. And in 2021, we did an exit on that company. And at that point, we had 12,000 real estate agents signed up, etc. And it was a crazy journey, a fun journey, and it was all built up on bootstrapping. So it was a good run. Um, when we sold it, at that point, I was very interested, which I still am interested in vehicles and cars and whatnot. So I had a
mhm.
race car and I bought a bigger race car trailer, and I still have that one. It's a big enclosed trailer. And at some point, right after we sold the company, I was driving down something called Franklin Avenue in New Orleans, where I had the trailer at a storage facility. And I looked at it. Why am I paying $130 a month to actually have that trailer sitting there? And this is kind of silly. I want to rent it out. And then I realized there's no decent place to actually rent your trailer if you're a private person. You want some sort of security. You don't want to rent it on Facebook. You don't know who shows up. So identity verification, insurance, and a lot of stuff, are involved in these kind of transactions. So it dawned on me, oh, the world needs a company like Towit, which I'm the CEO for now. We're still a startup and we're growing. But at that point, after I had my former company where I was the CTO, the
Mhm.
developer that we worked a lot with, his name is Gabriel. I called him instantly and said, "Hey, I got a new idea, but this time I don't want to hire you. I want you to be part of it." So my partner
Mhm.
is obviously a tech partner, which is one of the best constellations you can have when you're starting, especially a tech company, right? So you don't have to go out and spend all the money and see if it works or not. So we built it up, and we are going now with Zoe, and we're based out of Austin here in Texas.
Amazing. Now, it's quite interesting from real estate then to transportation space. Obviously, as you said, initially you have had that you started with video and graphics, and that's kind of like your passion. But at the same time, you built another business after exiting one to another passion of yours or something that would be solving a problem that you yourself experienced. What were some of the key lessons that you learned from building from bootstrap and eventually exiting that initial business before we talked about the Towit.
Yes. So first off, I really like the gig work situation, how people can maybe make passive money or just get gig work, so you can go do your daily life as you please. If I want to do
Yes.
something on Thursday, I can just go do it at 2 o'clock. I don't have to call my boss, to get some time off. But the whole constellation of marketplaces and that has always interested me, because it's incredible how scalable it is. Whether you can figure it out or not, that's always another question, right? But there's something to be said about the volume, and if you do it right, you will have repeat clients constantly. And I can't recall the retention rate we had at my former company, but I would say that would have been 70, 80, 90%. It was really good. We did a good job. It was very important for us to make sure that the agents we work with had a great experience, they got a good product, and we deliver on time every single day, every day. So consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest takeaway I had from that company is, first off, we were a member of something called Idea Village down in New Orleans, which was they had an incubator at that point. We got into that program, and that helped us a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
within the program, we got a few advisors, and one of the advisors was kind of a high-end guy from the business world in the US. And with that said, get advice. Don't figure things out yourself. If you have a question, don't try to solve it. Just contact somebody. It is crucial. It's important. And you move ahead so much faster than if you're trying to solve everything yourself. I've seen quite the opposite, where somebody is trying to build a company.
Right.
They think better than everybody else, and it just goes away. It doesn't really work out that well. So get all the advice you can. That's the best advice I can ever give anybody. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
it feels a lot with me to surround myself with people that are smarter than myself, that just know somebody, and those people typically know somebody that knows somebody else, right? So if I can call somebody and say, hey, I need a tax attorney, I know a
Mm-hmm.
guy. That's where
Right.
you want to be, because then you just slowly tag along.
Right. So building relationship and also getting yourself a mentor, because someone else has already figured out that road. How did you determine who you're going to listen to? Because there's obviously, maybe during that time, there's plenty of advices that you're hearing. And did you ever encounter or experience opposing advices from different advisors? How do you
Oh,
that?
absolutely. There's been quite a few. There's also, sometimes there's clients that want to kind of get involved at a certain level. They maybe have some good idea, and right when you meet them, oh, that sounds interesting. But
Mhm.
just go home and reflect a little bit too. I've certainly ran into a lot of people that I thought I could get a good advice from that I very quickly realized, oh, this is not really useful for me. But
Mhm.
the one big advice that we got from the Idea Wellness back then was just super lucky. We got him, and he was on board instantly, and he would pick up the phone the second, and any second that we will call him. It could be, if you sit down with a problem like, how do we scale to another city? What is a good idea? How do I hire a salesperson? How do you fire somebody? Nobody goes in and create a business and figure out how to fire somebody, right? But it will happen. If your business grow, you
Mhm.
also need to get rid of people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be employees. It can also be clients.
Sure.
I've had to get rid of a few clients in my lifetime too. And that's a very tough one, but you got to do it. And a friend of mine, his uncle once told us that it's very good to have competition, because if you need to get rid of a client, they need to have a place to go. If you're the only one with that one product, well, they will come back. And I assure you, and I've seen that happen a couple of times too. And it's a tough one to navigate. And then, but on top of that, you have the advisor. You can always call him and say, hey, how do I deal with this situation? Because at least a good advisor have been all the way around all this stuff for years and years.
Right.
So yeah.
Having a good mentor and advisor is key to the success of the business. Did you also have to
Yeah.
consult this mentor of yours or this advisor of yours when you feel like it's already time to exit that and shift to another business or another passion?
Uh, I'm sorry, you fell out for a little bit.
Yeah. My question was, did you have to consult that same advisor when you felt that you're ready to exit the business and shift to another passion project or something else that's you were interested in?
Absolutely, especially with the sale of the business. He was quite a bit involved, and he reached out to some of his attorneys, to help us draft all the documents and whatnot. And it was quite of a hefty thing to do.
Yeah.
However, you cannot, if you start a new company, that same advisor might not follow you. He will still be around. You can probably call him and ask him a few questions. But in this case, I managed to drum somebody else up that has gotten us going right in the beginning here. And she's kind of falling off a little bit, which kind of also was in the contract. When you get an advisor, it's typically, to give them maybe 0.5% of the company. You'll make a contract 2-3 years, depending on how much you need them. And hopefully in that little period, you'll scale so much that it's time to take the next step, maybe find somebody else. It could be an investor that is an advisor.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff going on for sure.
Right, right. I agree with that because I believe I listened to a couple of podcasts as well and interviews wherein, if you're shifting businesses, you would want to get another perspective because someone who may have helped you scale to $1 million company may not have the same experience as growing it to a 10 million. So you want to be looking for someone who's already done a 10 million scaling of business in that manner. So I totally.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as my former advisor said, as the millions kind of stacks up, well, other problems also stacks up with it. So what's going on next time? Will you get sued? What is happening, right? It's a very fine balance, but bottom line, you gotta keep to the core. Always keep doing the same business the same way you always have done it, the way that people like it. If you manage to get to that point, maybe nobody likes your product, right? And then that's it pretty quickly. But yeah, no, it's different agendas depending on the revenue for sure.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Towit.com. Initially, it sparked an idea from you because of a problem that you encountered, whereas you were spending so much money for renting a trailer for your car, and then how did you decide that maybe somebody else has the same problem as yours, or did you have to test it out first, do some market research? What made you decide to build Towit eventually?
Well, as I mentioned, first off, I was kind of tired of somebody else getting $130 a month for the trailer that I own just so I can have it parked somewhere, right? And which in itself is a very good business for them, for sure.
Right.
But well, if you take a company like U-Haul, everybody knows U-Haul, and they rent trailers, and it's a $4 or $5 billion company. So I've been reading some of their annual reports, and it's some really thick, interesting reports. There's also a lot of nonsense you don't really want to familiarize with, but the numbers and stuff are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a lot of mom and pop companies that has a couple of trailers and rent them out and make a little residual income on the side. But at this point, there was nothing for you and I that owns a house, maybe have 1 or 2 trailers sitting in the driveway. And for the most part, people would like to join a little bit of extra income. And we did a lot of research. We asked a ton of people. We reached out to a ton of people with trailers, etc. And then we built our MVP. And I still do, and I make sure to every time somebody, not even me, rented out a trailer, I will probably show up, especially here in the Austin area, if they rented it out the first time, just to meet the client, meet the owner, and just ask them questions and see how this is going. And I think I've been at least through 200 of those so far, and I think that's very important. You learn a lot of stuff when you do that, and What was the question again? Almost. I think I answered it pretty much.
Yeah. So let's explore a little bit more of Towit.com. Who are you helping by building this business?
Um, I'm helping you and my neighbors around, that has trailers sitting around, and I can give you a good example. A friend of mine, I managed to get his trailer on board, and he's been renting a lot. He owns a very fancy $1 million home at the lake that he rents out, but it
Mhm.
turns out that the $6,000 trailer makes more profit than the $1 million home on Airbnb. I'm not
Wow.
saying that this is going to be the case every single time, but there's so
Right.
many fees and whatnot, and they don't rent it all the time. They use it themselves as well. But what happens is we got a client, and this is a very good story. She buys a horse trailer for $9,000, and she's like paying maybe $180 a month or something on a trailer loan.
Mhm.
And she's like, yeah, I don't really use it that much myself, but I do like to have it, and but I don't want to pay the money. So she started renting it out, and she's making like $500-600 a month just on that one trailer, and the trailer is paid off, and it's still in good shape, right? So everybody who likes to earn a little bit extra, everybody that feels that they don't need to use their trailer themselves or is just sitting there. We
Mhm.
got clients that have 5 trailers that don't use them, and now suddenly they can rent them out instead, and they're pretty happy with that. And there's a lot of things that you use in your daily life. Some stuff it's better for it just to get moving around. If it's just sitting there, it's going to fall apart. It's the wiring is not going to connect.
Right.
Moving is good for these kind of things, right? Obviously, you don't want to overuse it either, but
Right.
that whole thing kind of adds up.
Got it. So you're servicing people who want to who have trailers and have not much use of it and want to rent it out. How do you connect them to those who need a trailer to rent? And who are they mostly based on your experience so far? Um,
Um, so basically, if we roll back a little bit, if you take Texas, I can't recall the numbers exactly, but I think there's probably 4, 5, 6 million pickup trucks, maybe even more in Texas, right? And then you have all the cars with a hitch on it. So basically, you cater to everybody that can move something with their vehicle, and it is incredible the stuff that we have been moving around. It's everything from plants to donkeys to alpacas to horses. A guy that buys mattresses and resell them, and especially a lot of the independent laborers that do moving stuff. Their small companies are not big enough to maybe have 3 or 4 different size trailers so they can do all the bidding and all the jobs. Now suddenly, relatively cheap, rent a trailer. I can give you a very good example. I asked one of them. He rented a trailer from me for like $66 for one day, and the job he went out to was $500 for him for the moving job. So it all adds up for him. There's no reason for him to actually buy a trailer now that he can. Oh, I need a little trailer, I need a mid-size, or I need a large one. So we
mhm.
cater to all them, and then obviously all the car guys that need to move cars around. We see that a lot. Um, and then especially the horse trailers are kind of funny. There's a lot of young girls, that owns maybe 10% of a horse, and they want to
Right,
take it to a trail ride, but mom and dad lives in a cookie cutter neighborhood or something like that, and can't have a horse trailer sitting because of the HOA.
right.
You name it. It's kind of endless. And the latest funny one we had was a company that needed to transport all their stuff out to a wedding where they were catering all the stuff, and they didn't have the means to take all the stuff out there. So basically, everybody who needs to move something from A to B. One of the big trailer I just mentioned in the beginning came home today from Chicago. Actually, somebody drove up there to pick up all his dad's belonging, moving his dad down, and done deal, easy. You don't have to go and stand in line somewhere. You just drive up to somebody's house, you hook it up, and then you're on the road instantly.
So that's very interesting because it seems like you cater to different different types of people who would need a trailer and also the ones who already have existing trailers that just are sitting there and have no purpose
Yeah.
at. How did you find them? Like how did you initially connect the dots? when it comes to this business, because it seems like the business model is pretty much the same with the real estate photography that you started as well and exited. Am I right in saying that it's a marketplace that you built?
Kind of. I mean, in both businesses, it's about two A and B meeting each other in the middle, and get something out of it. We haven't 100% solved how we're going to get all the trailers and how we're going to get all the clients, but obviously right now we're still a young company. We're bootstrapping. We're about to go out and see if we can fundraise a little bit. The numbers look pretty okay for fundraising, if I say so myself, obviously. But pirate marketing, that's what we've been doing so far. We basically don't really spend any money on marketing. So it's word of mouth, a lot of social media, a lot of video stuff, everything that can go around, big stickers, on the trailers that we own. We can't force anybody to put our logo on, but we're doing quite a bit of that, and that actually also gets some good feedback. So we just tagging along, and hopefully eventually soon we'll have a little marketing department, and then probably things are gonna actually escalate a little bit faster.
Right. So at the moment, what is working for you in terms of like being in front of those who's your target at the moment? Like, is it more of like those who have existing trailers or the ones who may be needing trailers? Because I know that you're connecting A and B, right?
Yeah, it's our marketing effort goes mostly towards the people that needs a trailer, and the ones that has trailer. I almost can't answer this, but they find the website, and almost daily somebody is uploading a new trailer to the website. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee that it's gonna rent. Some people have unrealistic expectation on how much it's gonna cost per day, and we can certainly say, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Obviously, we're learning a little bit of things, but what I can say is that in slow periods, right now, the last week have been very slow. But on the other hand, then suddenly we're getting a lot of trailers on board. So I would assume other people are slow too, and they're trying to extend their reach to maybe rent their own trailer a little bit more. So that kind of grows a little bit for what we're doing. We're very heavy on focusing on Austin and Texas. We do have trailers all over the country, but this is our focus. We really want to saturate this market so we can kind of expand it from here.
Got it. And I remember you mentioned something about earlier when you said that one of the problems that you saw in this space was to verify the validity of the person renting it out, whether they're a real person, to avoid scams. How are you solving that for your existing and potential clients in
right now? So what we're doing is, like most companies, we're using Stripe as our credit card processor. And so when you sign up, obviously you sign up with your email, your name, and you have to validate that, but that doesn't really go long. But before you can check out or list a trailer, you have to do an identity verification via Stripe. And it's very efficient. If your driver's license is out of date, if you don't have one, etc., you're not going to be able to rent a trailer. So all that is actually pretty much solved. And there's been cases where we can see, oh, your website is not working, and then they just vanish. For the most part, I'm pretty certain that, oh, they might not have had a driver's license or maybe something else or whatnot. They certainly don't want to scan their stuff. And then there is the people that, no, I don't want to, why should I do this for renting a trailer? Well, try to rent a trailer anywhere else and don't tell you who you are, right? So that is solved. Credit card processing is solved. We're working on a, what's it called? Not an insurance plan, but a protection plan to a certain degree. That small stuff will happen once in a while, but trailer parts are very, very cheap. So it's quite a funny business to be in. If a wheel falls off or something like that, or whatever, it's $75 to replace these kind of things. So
okay, how since you've solved this problem through a third party kind of like verification payment gateway, right? Because I think that's very smart that you utilize or leverage another business so that you don't have to build it yourself. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Do you see this as something that may potentially cause a problem in the long run in your entire process, or it's safe to do it that way? Would you be requiring your renters? Is that, or no, the other way around? The ones who are trailing renting out their trailers for some sort of identification, so you have a database, or it's pretty much built in your.
Yeah, no, we don't really want to have a database. It's obviously we do have a database of all the clients that are on the website,
Right.
but we don't store anything other than the name and email, and if you rent a trailer, obviously the address as well. That's it. So, but no, we're definitely going to continue in this direction. We're not going to change up on that. And there's been a couple of people, that have been a little bit angry over it, and yeah, then I don't want to rent, and that's fine. I mean, there needs to be some sort of security, and that was the big thing that I came up with when I came up with the idea. I'm not going to hand my trailer over to somebody I don't know who is, and if something happens, we know who's responsible, and then that's the person we need to talk to.
Right. Got it. Is there some sort of like insurance as well, within the process of the renting out? And do you have to take care of that, or is that something that the one who owns the trailer would have to take?
There's several ways to do it. So right now we're working on a protection plan, and it's a little hairy to build something like that. But so the renter can go in and pay a little bit extra and have a certain security level. But it's also on the owner as well. If you want, you can go out and actually get good insurance for your trailer that also cover rental, etc. If they want to go that route, and it's 40, $50 a month, so it is totally worth it. And then when it comes down to liability, the liability is for the most part covered from the owner, the renter's car insurance. It always carries over to the trailer, and I think, yeah, don't hang me up on this one, but I'm 99.9% sure that that's by law in Texas. It might differ a little bit from state to state, but that's all taken care of automatically.
Right. Now, speaking of Austin, Texas, you mentioned earlier that you want to saturate the market. What's the potential that you're seeing in this marketplace for your business? And what's going to be the next steps for you looking to 2026 and beyond?
Uh, so I think the potential is fairly big, and I kind of got some of the numbers on top of my head. And if you go to, I would say 4 or 5 of the local counties around the Travis County, which Austin is in, there is exactly 179,581 trailers or something like that registered in 2022. And if if we can just get a fraction of these, we're talking maybe 0.2% or something like that, then we're most certainly the biggest trailer rental company in town, which I actually think we already are. And if you look at statewide, there's 3 million trailers in Texas and 30 million trailers in the rest of the US. So yeah, the potential is big. If you look at a company like Turo, I think they have, it's been a while since I dug into the numbers, but I think they have like 300,000-400,000 vehicles in the US alone on their platform. And that was also one of my considerations in the beginning. I mean, if somebody want to rent out the vehicle, they will most certainly want to rent out a utility trailer or whatnot, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter too much if you get a scratch, because that will happen. But I don't want somebody to scratch my car. And to kind of feel out the waters, I actually put one of my vehicles on Turo just to test it out and see how all this back and forth, worked out. And that was actually a pretty good experience, and taught me a couple of ideas on what to do and what not to do.
That's a good tip. I think that a lot of our audience would also be able to use that kind of like business tip as well when it comes to testing out the market, doing market research, and then experience it yourself as a customers as well, because you would learn a ton from the experience that you're getting from your.
Absolutely, and it's kind of a micro reverse engineering, right? Just doing whatever the other ones do, and then all right, how can I implement that in my own system and whatnot?
That's amazing. lastly, do you have any other tips for our listeners, our audience about, building a business and whether or not they think about scaling it to exit or just scaling it to become a passive income? What are the key lessons that you could share that you've learned along the way?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I like to think big in the sense of scale, scale, scale.
Mm,
But if you want a lifestyle company and you just want a decent income, and that's perfectly okay as well. Everything in business is okay, but obviously treat your clients with respect. Answer your phone every time it rings. Small stuff like that sends you way ahead of a lot of competition. But if you're thinking that you want to build a very large company, you really gotta sit down and figure out, can it scale? Is it worth scaling? Interview a lot of potential maybe advisors and whatnot that has been in the industry that you have been around. It's crucial that there might be just one word, some one sentence somebody says that, oh shoot, I can't do this because that doesn't work, right? So just don't jump on to it and start it out. Just to do a little bit of research for sure, and again, as I mentioned in the beginning, make sure to chat with all your clients, all your potential clients, learn something. See if you can force people to do surveys. It's the hardest part in any business to get surveys done. We are kind of in the middle of that right now, getting a lot
mhm.
of surveys in, and it certainly is not going as fast as how nice people are on top of it. um, but yeah, if you want to build a big company, it needs to be scalable, and that's one of the things that my former advisor said. He mentioned a couple of companies that wanted to chat with him, and he's very cutthroat, saying, "Hey, you can't scale this because you don't have the environment to it. It doesn't exist." One of the company was something about swamp boats. You can't really scale that other than to the swamp, and that's it, right? So
So,
there's a lot of things to think about.
right. How did you just maybe final question, how did you determine that when you built Towit.com or Towit as a business, how did you determine that it's actually a scalable market? What were like the things you considered in making that decision?
Well, me and my business partner, we read a lot of books about how Turo and Airbnb and all these marketplaces started up, and we learned a lot about that. And if you're gonna, so basically we just taken one model that is now very well known within the last 10 years and just put another piece of content into it, hence the trailers, right? And if that's something you do, there's probably a lot of literature you can get around and learn something to build it. And on that note, one of my former advisors also told me to read a book called Get Backed. It's about making pitch decks, etc. And this guy has been around a lot of pitch decks throughout his lifetime, and it's very, very interesting. And it talks a lot about business too, how to approach investors, etc. But it's also entertaining because he's a little bit self-ironic. I think his own project took like 7, 8 years to actually really get launched, but I think it worked out in the end. I can't even recall what it was, but it when I read that book, it's like, oh yeah, we can totally do this. We got to do it, but we also need to do it right.
We'll definitely include that reference in the show notes. What's the title again of the book?
Get backed,
Get
backed,
Backed.
backed. Yeah,
Backed.
backed as in back up.
Oh, okay. Back off, like get
Yeah,
back. Okay, got it. Do you still remember who the author is?
I cannot. I can pull it up. Should I pull it up?
Maybe.
Oh, you fell out. Sorry. Hang on.
No problem. Let me see if I can also find that.
Oh, but it's very readily available.
Oh,
I'm just
I
gonna
think I
take.
found it. Get back, craft your story, build a perfect pitch deck, and launch the venture of your dreams. Is that it? Is that
Exactly.
the title?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got
It,
it.
it's a very good book. When it's very easy reading too. You learn
Mm.
a lot about business. I got another one too that I read that was very heavy duty, but very good too. Unfortunately, I can't recall the name of that. I can certainly find out if you want me to. But this one is good too because it's easy reading and it's very entertaining at the same time. And there's a lot of aha moments in. And they talk a lot about some of the pitch decks that has been done, why it worked and why it didn't work, etc. And as I've been out pitching against others, I've seen some pitches where I can't even read what's up on the screen, right? And it's very crucial that you got a couple of minutes and it just has to be there right in front of you instantly.
Right. Well, Bjarne, thank you so much for all the insights that you've shared with us. I have learned a lot about, when it comes to business, being able to get yourself a good advisor who's already had some experience, if not have some success in that type of business that you're looking to build. And then also being able to explore other options as well if you are to shift directions. I love the fact that you also are very well read. You do thorough research, you test out the market before you even implement things. You care about so much of your customers, get to know them, because that's how you can also extract what are their struggles, what are their looking for, and then be able to think about scalability as well, right? Be
Absolutely. There's a lot of things going on, and I must admit that I might spend a little bit too much time on meeting with these people, but for me to see is very important, 100%. And when you read the books about Airbnb and stuff, they stress that a lot. I think Airbnb even went around and slept in some of the homes that they first listed.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
how can our audience find you, or anyone who would be watching this podcast? How can they get in touch with you um, and find you?
It's very simple. Obviously, they can find me on LinkedIn under my name, and they're more than happy to, if they want to reach out, I'm more than happy to reply to them. And obviously, they can go to towit.com and check out the website.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today, Bjarne. We've learned so much. And if this conversation helped you think differently about your business, the best way to support the show is to do two things. Number one, share this episode with one colleague or a friend or a family member. Number two is hit subscribe right now so you never miss the next episode. I'm your host, Haley. You've been listening to the Spotlight series. Thanks for tuning in, and see you again next time.